Okay, to pick up where we left off, this is the next part of the demonstration for building a template-based site. We did so far SVG demo, and the second demo was on screen grabs. The third demo was getting started with the markup, and that's where we are now. So this is going to be the fourth demo. All right, so we got all the rest of the markup on the page done, the basic markup, and now we need to do the navigation. So I'm going to jump back over here to my PDF, and on slide number 19, it explains what it is that, sort of the way that you could envision creating that navigation toolbar. And you see that on the left side, we have a home button, and on the right side, we have all these other page links. Well, what you can do is you can look at all of this code right here, and you can see how it's all organized inside of one large container, which I guess could represent the gray container. And then the left thing would be that H1, which is just got a link inside of it. And then the right thing is an unordered list. So let's go over there and let's type that in. So inside of our nav, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do our H1. And then inside of that, we have an A, href. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead because I know that this is going to go home. Well, my home page is going to be my index page. So let's go ahead and type that, index.html. And then inside of that, we can have a logo, or we could have a word. We could have the word home. I'm not going to have the word home. I'm going to do something a little bit different. So if you look at our example, well, that's called everything relative. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do e.r. Okay, so it's just going to be an abbreviation up there. You could put a little icon for your logo. You could put a word there. You could put whatever you want. Okay, but this is the way I'm going to choose to do it. Let's minimize that. And so I'm going to just type it. I'm not going to create a special logo. I'm just going to type the letters ER. Okay, so that's what I'll have there for my H1. And then next, if you go back and you look at this, you see that now we've got to have that unordered list for the navigation. All right, so we're going to do UL for unordered list, and then we'll do some list items. Okay, and I'll need some anchors inside of that, so some links. So we'll do a href, and these links are going to be, if you can remember, these are going to be the links to your own website. So you're going to be making something, let's just say that's, for right now, we'll just do something like page 1, page 2, whatever. And then inside where it says, actually, let's just do page, and I'll explain why I'm going to do something different in a second. And then where it says a href equals, well, for right now, you could put either a hash mark, or what I talked about in the PDF that you really could, consider doing is you could go ahead and make your linking structure. Even though you don't already have pages that exist, you know that you're going to have pages that exist. And they're all going to be, if you look over here to the left, they're all going to be in the same directory where it says exercise 4. We have our index page, and then they're all going to be just sitting here in the same directory. So it's a really simple linking structure. And if we want to go ahead and just create something where we call them, like site 01.html or something like that, we could do that. Or site 1, 2, 3, whatever. You could do 01 or whatever, however you want to do this. Now, you could go ahead and build this linking structure, and you could copy this and you could paste them, and that would be really efficient. One thing that I need you to realize, though, is that ultimately, let's take a look at this again. Ultimately, I want you to look, and you'll see that here, I'm going to right click this, and I'm going to inspect this element. This is the one that I've already done. This is not the one we're currently working on. Okay, so this is an example. And you see where I've got list item. Look what happens, okay? I want to expand all of these list items right here. You'll notice that the first list item is site 5, then 4, then 3, and you can see them hovering up above up here, okay? Then 2, and then lastly we have then 1. And you might wonder, well, why did I do it backwards? Well, notice what's happening here. What we're going to be doing with this logo where it says ER, we're going to float that to the left. And then this entire UL or unordered list, we're going to float that whole thing to the right so that this sits on the left and that this sits on the right, okay? Now, there are some different ways that you could do it. This is the way I'm choosing to do it so that I can show you. And it's really flexible this way because this will extend into other designs as well. Because we're putting this off to the right, you need to also realize that these are going to be floats. And if we tell it to float right, then we have to do them in reverse order. So if we're saying float right, then we're going to have the last one come first. If it matters to you where you've got something that says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you just need to, or if you want one of them to show up first, you need to basically reverse the order in which you want them to appear if we're going to use a float right up here. All right, so instead of actually putting the numbers here right now, what I'm going to do is just say site and page. And then this way I can copy my list item and I can just paste it so that I've got 5 of them here. All right, and then I can make my decision and say, okay, site 5, site 4, 3, 2, 1, and I can do the same thing here where it's like page 5, 4, and we're going to change these names later that you see on the screen, but we can, if we want, we can just leave the actual plan for what we're going to call the actual HTML files, just like this, site 5 through site 1. Okay, so now that we have that, I'm going to just toggle this left drawer closed so we can see this a little bit better. I want to go ahead and show you really quickly what this looks like. I need to save it real quick, and then we'll go up here to preview, and I'm going to tell it to look at it in Chrome. And then here, if you don't want it to always ask you, you can say, remember this selection for this file. But you can still look at it in other browsers. You just have to choose from this preview button up here. So we'll say preview, and this is what it looks like so far. It's, not very interesting to look at, right? So this is normal though, so don't be shocked or surprised or anything like that. One thing that we are missing is where it says site title. Well, we actually already created a picture for that. So let's go ahead and put that in there. I'm going to minimize this. Okay, and we're going to come down to where it says site title, and instead we're going to put an image file here. So we're going to say image src equals, and then we need we need alt text normally. This is an SVG file we're going to be using, so alt text is a little bit unnecessary in some ways, but you're still supposed to have it if it's used with an IMG tag. So we're going to say everything relative, because that's exactly what the picture says. Okay, and for the image source, we're going to go to images / and then we'll toggle this drawer open again real quick and take a peek, and it's called everything - relative SVG. So I'll call it everything - relative .svg, and of course yours is going to be very different. Whatever you called your file name for your heading image, that's what yours is going to be called. So let's save it, and now let's take another peek. I'll refresh this, and at least now we've got our picture in there, and let's see if it scales properly, and it does. And of course you see that this picture is not scaling. It's because we haven't written the CSS for that to tell it to scale, whereas an SVG will automatically scale because it's a vector graphic. Okay. All right, so the next thing that we need to look at is how to deal with the CSS. So we're going to go ahead and end this demonstration right here and go ahead and start the next one with CSS.